Are you looking for some simple yet effective techniques that can be used to create a character design in Illustrator? If your answer is yes, then you're in the right place. Hi there everyone, my name is Andrei Marius. I've been working in Illustrator for over 10 years, and in this Envato Tuts Plus tutorial, I'll put my experience to use as I show you step by step how you can create this cute monkey design using Adobe Illustrator. As always, before we begin, make sure to check out Envato Elements, where you can get unlimited downloads of stock videos, music, graphics, photos, fonts, and many more. That's millions of creative assets, all ready to use and with simple commercial licensing. You can subscribe right now with the link in the description. The original written version of this tutorial was posted by Natalia Dolotko on the Envato Tuts Plus website, so make sure to check out the link in the description if you prefer to follow the written version of this tutorial. If you haven't done it already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to check this bell icon to make sure that you'll be notified when new tutorials are published. And that being said, let's move to Illustrator to create a new document. Select pixels from this drop-down menu. Set the width and the height to 850. Make sure that the color mode is set to RGB and the resolution to 72 pixels per inch. And then you can press enter or click this button to create a new document. You can press Ctrl and 0 to fit the artboard inside your window. And for the beginning, let's open all the panels that will be used throughout this tutorial. Go to Window in the menu bar. First of all, make sure that the control panel is active and then open all the panels that have this check mark. Once you're done, go to View and Show Grid to enable the grid. Go again to View, but this time select Snap to Grid to enable the Snap to Grid feature. And for this tutorial, you need a grid line every 5 pixels, so let's go to Edit, Preferences, Guides and Grid. Just enter 5 in this grid line every box. Click OK, and now you have a grid line every 5 pixels. You can always press Ctrl and plus to zoom in on your artboard and have a closer look at this grid. Now that you're set, let's start by selecting the ellipse tool from your toolbar and use it to create a 260 pixel circle. You can either click and drag while holding down the Shift key. Keep in mind that you can have a look inside the info panel to know exactly when you get to 260 pixels. Or much easier, you can simply click on your artboard, set the settings for your shape, click OK, and now you've got your 260 pixel circle. Keep it selected and let's adjust the color. First of all, select the stroke and remove the color, and then reselect the fill and replace this white with 162, 92, and 56. Now go to Effect, Warp and Inflate. Set the bend to -15%. Click OK to apply this effect, and then expand it by going to Object and Expand Appearance. While your shape is still selected, you can press Ctrl and plus to zoom in on it. Continue with the ellipse tool and this time use it to create a 190 by 120 pixels shape. Let's change the fill color to 241, 195 and 132. Now use the selection tool to select both of these shapes. Click this larger one to make it the reference shape, and then click this button to perfectly align the center points of these two shapes. Select just this ellipse, hold down the Shift key and drag it to the bottom edge of this larger shape, and then move it about 15 pixels up like this. Reselect the ellipse tool and let's create a 115 pixel circle. Switch to the selection tool. Hold down the Shift key to add to your selection this ellipse. Click it again to make it the reference shape, and then click these two buttons to easily align your circle with the top and left edge of this ellipse. Now select just this circle, hold down the Shift key and move it 55 pixels up, and then hold down the Alt key and drag a copy 75 pixels to the right, like this. To create the ears, you'll need again the ellipse tool, so reselect it and use it to create a 90 pixel circle. Let's roughly align it with the left edge of this head shape and then move it about 50 pixels to the left. You can use the eyedropper tool to easily fill this shape with this darker color. Keep it selected and go to Object, Path, and Offset Path. Set the offset to -30 pixels and click OK to create this new shape. Fill it with this color. Then use the selection tool to select both of these circles. Hold down the Alt key and drag a copy 250 pixels to the right. Remember that you can also hold down the Shift key to constrain the movement of your copy. And don't forget that you can have a look inside the info panel to know exactly when you get to 250 pixels. Now hold down the Shift key and add to your selection these other two circles. Right-click your selection and go to Arrange and Send to Back, which will move your selection behind the rest of these shapes. For the eyes, we'll use again the Ellipse tool. Start with a 40 by 50 pixel circle. Make it white. Select it along with this circle and make it the reference shape so that you can align this ellipse to the left and top edge of this circle. Now select just this white ellipse and let's move it 45 pixels down and 25 pixels to the right, like this. Continue with the ellipse tool and let's create a 25 pixel circle. Change the fill color to 63, 32, and 15. Move this circle on top of your white ellipse in this position. And then add a tiny 5 pixel circle. Make it white. Drag it on top of this darker circle. Hold down the Shift key to add to your selection these other two shapes. Then hold down the Alt key and drag a copy of your selection about 100 pixels to the right. Select just these two shapes and move them slightly to the left. Now for the noise you'll need again this tiny circle. Hold down the Alt key and drag a copy about 35 pixels to the left and 20 pixels down. Again hold down the Alt key and add a second copy 15 pixels to the left. Then select both of these tiny circles and use again the eyedropper tool to fill them with this darker color. And now for the mouth you need to reselect the ellipse tool. Start with a 60 by 25 pixels ellipse. Let's move it in this position, about 20 pixels below the nose. Replace the fill color with 204, 134, and 59. Continue with the anchor point tool and simply click these 2 points to turn them into sharp points. Then switch to the direct selection tool. Hold down the Shift key so that you can add to your selection this second point and then move both of these points up like this. Next you need the rectangle tool, so select it from your toolbar. Use it to create a shape which will cover the top side of this shape. Make it white. Reselect the ellipse tool. Use it to create a 40 by 15 pixels shape. Let's change the fill color to 245, 141, and 121. Use the selection tool to place this shape in this position. Then hold down the Shift key to add to your selection these other two shapes. Continue with the Shape Builder tool. Remember to hold down the Alt key and simply click these two sections, which will remove them from your design. Moving to the body, you'll need again the ellipse tool to create a 150 by 190 pixels shape. Let's move it right below the mouth. Then drag it about 15 pixels down. Use the eyedropper tool to fill it with this darker color. Then use the direct selection tool to select these 2 points and drag them 20 pixels down. Reselect the ellipse tool. This time create a 90 by 110 pixels shape. Let's fill it with this color and then place it in this position. Select both of these shapes and send them to back. And before we continue with the rest of the body, let's add some vines. Select the pen tool and use it to create a simple curvy path. You can press the escape key when you're done creating the pad. Press Shift and X, which will quickly swap the fill and stroke color settings. Let's use the selection tool to select this pad so that you can increase the stroke weight to 10 pixels. Select the stroke and replace the color with 177, 190 and 45. And then using this same technique, add another 2 vines, which should look somewhat like this. Once you're done, select all the shapes that make up your monkey and press Ctrl G to group them. Use this bounding box to rotate your group 45 degrees to the left. Keep in mind that holding down the Shift key as you click and drag will constrain the angle of rotation. So let's keep it 45 degrees to the left. And then move this group roughly in this position. Now we can continue with the rest of the body. Reselect the pen tool and we'll start with the left arm, which should connect your monkey with the vines. Just create a simple curvy pad. Fill it with this color. Press Shift and X to swap the fill and stroke color settings, and don't forget to increase the stroke weight to 35 pixels. You can always use the direct selection tool to further adjust these points. Reselect the pen tool and add the right arm. Continue with the legs. Remember that you can use the direct selection tool to adjust the position of these points. Don't forget the tail. Once created, you need to lower the stroke weight of this pad to 16 pixels. Select it along with the leg shapes and open the stroke flyout panel to check this round cap button. And then select the leg shapes along with the arm shapes and simply send them to back. Now use the direct selection tool to select just this point. Press Ctrl and plus a few times to zoom in on it, as we're about to add the hand for this right arm. Start again with the ellipse tool and use it to create a 55 pixel circle. Press Shift and X to swap the fill and stroke color settings. Fill this circle with this color. Disable the snap to grid for a few moments and continue with the rounded rectangle tool, which we'll use to create the fingers. Let's start with the smaller one. You can use the selection tool to scale it, rotate it, and place it wherever you wish. Let's add a copy of this shape. Rotate it a bit, scale it, and place it somewhat like this. Continue and add 2 more copies of this shape. And finally, you need the ellipse tool to create the 5th finger. Create a 20 by 45 pixels shape. Rotate it and place it somewhat like this. Once you're happy with the look of your hand, you can select all of these shapes. Merge them using the Unite button from the Pathfinder panel. Rotate this new shape and attach it to the arm. Let's press Ctrl and 0 to zoom back on the entire design and continue with the other hand. Again, select just this anchor point and press Ctrl plus to zoom in on this selection. And then reselect the rounded rectangle tool to create the first 4 fingers. Let's start with the first one. Again, press Shift and X to swap the fill and stroke color settings. Let's scale this shape a bit. Replace the fill color with 244, 209, and 160. Let's rotate this shape a bit and place it like this. Then add 3 copies. You can select all of these shapes and scale them a bit. Then select just this one and make it a bit smaller. Let's do the same for this one. And then reselect the ellipse tool from your toolbar to add the thumb. You'll need a 35 by 15 pixels shape. Let's fill it with this color, rotate it a bit, and place it in this position. Don't forget to also send it to back. And then you can press Ctrl 0 to zoom back on the entire design. Let's turn back on the snap to grid for a few moments. Select the ellipse tool from your toolbar and use it to create a 45 by 80 pixels shape. Press Ctrl M+ to zoom in on this selection. Continue with the direct selection tool and use it to select these 2 points and then drag them 15 pixels down like this. Now you can disable the snap to grid for good and continue with the toes. Let's start with the larger one. Duplicate this shape and make it smaller. Add another copy, another one, and make it even smaller. And finally one more copy, which should be even smaller. Now you can select all of these shapes and again unite them using this button from the Pathfinder panel. Rotate this shape and add it to this leg. You can send it to back. Duplicate this shape and add it to this other leg. And you can use the reflect tool to easily flip this shape. Press Ctrl N0 to zoom back on the entire artboard. And finally, let's create a simple palm leaf design. First of all, you need to enable the Smart Guides, so go to View and select Smart Guides. Then select the ellipse tool from your toolbar and use it to create a 7 by 290 pixels shape. Press Ctrl M+ to zoom in on this new shape. Replace the current fill color with 157, 163, and 31. Then click again on your artboard to create a 15 by 70 pixels shape. Then use the anchor point tool to turn these 2 points into sharp points. Let's move this shape on top of this one, like this. Keep it selected. Hold down the Alt key and drag a copy of this shape about 10 pixels down. Then switch to the Rotate tool. Click only once in this corner to set the reference point and then rotate your selection somewhat like this. Switch back to the selection tool so that you can duplicate this leaf. Move it about 10 pixels down. Again, switch to the rotate tool. Set the reference point in this corner and then rotate this shape even more. Now keep on using this same technique and add the rest of the leaves until you end up with something that's somewhat similar with this. Just keep in mind that these bottom leaves should be a bit smaller, so select them one by one. Use the scale tool, set the reference point in this corner, and then simply click and drag to scale your leaves like this. Now you can select all of these shapes. Press Ctrl C and then Ctrl F to add copies in front. Using the reflect tool, you can easily flip these copies. And then using the selection tool, let's move these copies to the left, like this. Now you can select all of these shapes and merge them using this same Unite button from the Pathfinder panel. Hold down the Alt key and let's add 2 copies of this leaf. Select this one and go to Effect, Warp and Arc. Check the vertical box and set the bend to -30%. Click OK to apply this effect and continue with the second leaf design. Select it and first of all replace the fill color with 140, 140 and 60. Then go again to Effect, Warp and Arc. This time you need to set the bend to 25%. Click OK. Continue with the next leaf design. Again replace the fill color with 211, again 211 and 76. And go one more time to Effect, Warp and Arc. Let's set the bend to -25%. Do the same for the vertical distortion. Click OK to apply this effect. Then select all of your leaf designs and go to Object and Expand Appearance. And now you need to multiply these designs and spread them around your monkey until you end up with something that's somewhat similar with this. Finally, let's add a simple background using the rectangle tool. Just create a shape which will cover your entire artboard. Fill it with 252, 248, and 212. Don't forget to send this shape to back. And with this final touch, your design is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Remember to hit that like button as it lets me know that I did a good job. Subscribe if you aren't already, and don't forget to click that little bell icon to be notified of any new tutorials. I'm Andrei Marius, and I'll see you in the next video.